Right, it is just past the top of the hour, so let's go ahead and get started with our Jira Service Management Fundamentals webinar. So welcome everybody. We are so glad you're able to join us today for this about an hour overview of Jira Service Management. My name's Brad Wood. I'm a business consultant and Atlassian Certified Professional with Valiantys. We're also joined today by my colleague, Alexis Heritage, who is a fellow consultant with Valiantys as well, and we're happy to have her here today. And we're going to be walking you through Jira Service Management this morning. We're going to highlight many of its strengths and its capabilities, and we'll talk for about an hour. So a little bit about Valiantys. So at Valiantys, we are a Platinum Solutions partner of Atlassian, and we offer consulting and licensing services across the entire Atlassian suite of products for organizations of all shapes and sizes, anywhere in the world, and for all of Atlassian's different platforms, including cloud and data center, and with extensive insight and understanding of Atlassian tools, undiluted focus and skill sets, and proven capability at every level. And you can see on this graphic here some of our accolades. We are 100% dedicated to the Atlassian ecosystem. We're a 13-time Atlassian Partner of the Year. We've worked with 65 of the global Fortune 500 organizations. In addition to the consulting services I just mentioned, we have a full stack development center that works on custom solutions and integrations with Atlassian tools. We're Atlassian's first global partner, and we provide 24/7 global coverage with over 600 team members. A little bit more about our organization at Valiantys. We provide a number of different services based around Atlassian products, including consulting, licensing, integration and development, managed services, and training, just to name a few. And you can find more information on all those services that we provide at our website, which is just valiantys.com. So along with training, like this webinar, for example, we do have boot camps that are more deep dives, extensive training classes on Atlassian products. We offer these for Jira Software, Confluence, and Jira Service Management. That JSM Bootcamp is a 2-day class. It takes a comprehensive look at everything you need to know to effectively use and administer Jira Service Management. It's designed for both admins and service desk managers. And our bootcamps focus on retention. They're interactive workshops designed to leave our users confident in their understanding and use of the tools and processes. Our JSM Bootcamp goes into some advanced topics as well, like assets, Ops Genie, now known as operations, status page, and some ITSM topics, just to name a few. You can find info on this and all of our upcoming boot camps by visiting valiantys.com/training. And our next JSM Bootcamp is coming up on January 21st, so that is just right around the corner. But we do offer these several times throughout the year. So if you're not able to attend that one coming up here in the next couple of weeks, we should have some alternative dates available on the website for you. All right, so our agenda for this webinar this morning, we are already in our introduction. We will wrap that up, and then we'll do a demo in Jira Service Management. And we'll leave some time at the end for questions. I mentioned Alexis is here, so while I am presenting this morning, if you do have any questions, feel free to add those in the Q&A section here in Zoom, and we'll do our best to answer those as quickly as possible. And then if you do have any other additional questions that we haven't been able to answer in the chat, if we have time at the end of today's session, I will answer some of those as well. All right, so Jira Service Management, what is it? Who is it for? It was originally created as a service management tool for IT departments. Over the years, it has evolved into a much more robust platform where we're not just using JSM for our IT teams anymore. It can really be for any service team within your organization, maybe HR, legal, marketing, anybody who's providing a service or receiving requests from customers or other individuals within the organization can benefit from using Jira Service Management. So in addition to a service management or ticketing tool, JSM is a support system with knowledge bases. It can be an asset manager. We mentioned operations or Ops Genie. It can be an alerting system. Has a wide variety of powerful features found within the product. JSM provides an intake channel and tracking for service requests, which helps us support and track our customer success. It keeps a record of our service requests, and we can keep our customers up to date on their requests. JSM can be connected to internal and external knowledge bases. We'll look at a little bit of that functionality this morning. We can track and maintain SLAs, and we'll look at how to configure some of those in this webinar. And ultimately, it provides a clean and highly customizable solution for requests to be submitted to your department within your organization. It provides a centralized location for customers to submit their service requests, as opposed to maybe using a varied or sort of long list of communication methods, email, chat, phone calls, etc. Using JSM, we're going to bring all of that communication into a centralized location for our customers to submit their requests. That location is also going to provide customers the ability to view the status of their requests and provide a communication channel between customers and the service team actually working on those requests. And it's also going to help ensure that our customers are providing the necessary information with their requests. And we'll learn a little bit about how to set that up this morning. JSM can be used for both internal and external customers. So your customers do not necessarily have to be part of your organization. And we can also leverage automation for Jira in JSM. So if you're familiar with Jira software, you're no doubt familiar with automation. Automation is also available in JSM, and we can use that to automate repetitive tasks, which will save our agents time, increase efficiency, and ultimately lead to quicker resolutions to your customer's success. Jira Service Management, you might have guessed, is built upon Jira software. So if you're already familiar with Jira, you are going to notice many similarities between the two tools. But if you don't have experience with Jira, that's totally okay. You don't need that knowledge necessarily to use JSM, and you don't need to own or subscribe to Jira software to use Jira Service Management. They are standalone, two separate products. So today in our webinar, we are going to review Jira Service Management through three different perspectives. We're going to start with our customers. Then we'll talk about our agents or our service team. And then finally, we'll talk about admins. Our customers are going to be those individuals who use the Help Center, which we'll see what the Help Center is here in just a second. They're going to use the Help Center to raise, track, and comment on requests. They can share requests. They can use knowledge-based articles. Our service team is going to be those individuals who are viewing and managing requests. They can create and manage knowledge-based articles. They will be using queues. They can review reports and SLA metrics, and then they can also manage the customers themselves. Finally, our admins are those people who can perform all agent tasks, as well as all the configurations within the service management project. So configuring the portal, request types, queues, reports, SLAs, etc. Our admins are very similar to Jira admins in that they will be the ones who are actually responsible for all the configurations. Before we jump into Jira Service Management, just a quick plug for the companion to this webinar, which is our Advanced Jira Service Management webinar for ITSM. Some of the topics that we cover in this webinar include incident management, change management, and the assets database. This is also a 1-hour webinar. Our next presentation of this webinar is going to be a week from today at the exact same time, so 11 a.m. Central, or excuse me, it's actually in the afternoon, I believe. It's 1 p.m. Central on January 16th. So that's coming up next week. It's also a free 1-hour webinar. It builds upon everything we're going to talk about this morning, and is going to take more of an in-depth look at the advanced ITSM feature set in Jira Service Management. You can scan this QR code, visit valiantys.com/training to sign up for this webinar. And I think there's some information in the chat as well. So I do recommend joining that webinar as well. It really does build upon everything that we are going to jump into right now. All right, so like I mentioned, we're going to look at this from 3 different perspectives, and we are going to start by coming out here to the Help Center, and we are going to put on our customer hat, and we are going to look at how the customers will submit requests, interact with them, view the status of their requests, and really utilize the Help Center in Jira Service Management. So Jira Service Management has a number of different intake methods for our customers to submit tickets. We can enable this to be done via email, via chat integrations. There's a widget you can post in like an internal website on your intranet, something like that. But today we're going to focus on the Help Center. The Help Center is really where our customers are going to spend all of their time within Jira Service Management, and it's where they're going to submit their requests, view the status of those requests, comment on the requests, interact with agents, etc. So here we are in a demo Help Center. You can see right away we are presented with a search bar, and your customers can use this search bar to find both the request forms that they need and knowledge base articles within the system. So for example, if I type VPN into this search bar, we can see there's several different request forms served up. There are also some resources or knowledge base articles here. So let's click into VPN troubleshooting. And this is just a quick example of a knowledge base article. If you're curious, this is powered by Confluence on the back end, and you do get the knowledge base with your subscription to Jira Service Management. So you can create these great articles. The idea here is ticket deflection, and we want to use our knowledge base articles to guide our customers to information that may help them solve their issues themselves, find some kind of resolution to the problem they're having, and ultimately result in less tickets submitted. So we can see the title of the article here, where there's some rich text features you can add here, like this alert to make sure your cat is not on your keyboard. Maybe that's the trouble you're having with your VPN. You can add images or charts or graphs or anything that you might need in here. And then we've got all of our steps to actually troubleshoot the VPN. So we've got all this information for our customers. We can see there's an expandable section here with even more steps to check if perhaps the problem was not resolved by checking these first steps. And again, the idea here is helping our customers solve their problems and resulting in less tickets submitted for our agents to work. Our customers can give us some feedback on the knowledge base article here. So where it says, did this article help? I can choose yes or no. And that can actually be reported on the back end and viewed by our agents. If we're getting a lot of no's, maybe our knowledge base article isn't very helpful, or maybe there's a bigger issue at play and we need to investigate something like that. That can be really helpful here. There's also need to raise a request, contact us. This would take us back to the portal and let us choose a request type. And that's a really handy thing to have right on your knowledge base article. So again, if this didn't help me, I can just go directly to a request form from here. One thing to note in the Help Center as well, everything has a direct URL. So I can copy and paste this and send it to somebody in the chat on Teams or Slack to go directly to this article, directly to a request form, etc. So something to keep in mind as you're navigating your Help Center. We'll go back to the Help Center. The next thing we're seeing is a topic section. And these are collections of related elements that can be useful to your customers in a variety of ways by grouping related things together. So it can include request forms and knowledge base articles, and even links to a topic that are related in some way. These are cross-project, which we'll talk about this in just a second. Our portal groups are related to a single Jira Service Management project, but our topics section can include content from multiple projects. And the Help Center is customizable. With this customize panel here, we can add announcements, we can manage our look and feel, we can add a login message. This is where we would manage our topics and portals. You can add different imagery to the top here, so you can change this color, or maybe add your organization's branding here, your logo, something like that. And we can see an announcement message right here. So it is highly customizable, much like everything in the Atlassian ecosystem. We see down here featured portals. Each of these portals is connected to a project in Jira Service Management. So this one, IT Service Desk, is an actual project on the back end in Jira Service Management, as well as HR, facilities. We've got these featured portals here, and we can expand this to see all of our portals here. And this, your portals are really subsections of the Help Center. We've got these organized based on department or function here. And really the idea is to keep your request types organized based on some kind of similar trait or function, etc. So if I'm the customer, I'm having an IT problem, I know I need to go to this portal group and not one of these others. You can have multiple request types within each portal, and we'll see that in just a second. And access is managed on the back end within each of these projects. So for example, if I did not have access to the HR Service Desk project in Jira Service Management, I would not see this portal when I log into the Help Center. So again, that helps people keep things concise for your customers and only give them access to the request types that they should have access to. So let's click into the IT Service Desk portal. Within our portal, we can have portal groups, which again is another organizational method for our request types. So we see several different portal groups here. We've got customers, logins and accounts, applications, servers and infrastructures, and these underneath those, so request a new laptop, get IT help, etc. Those are the actual request types within that portal group. So I'm going to select computers, and then here is where I can actually choose which request type I want to submit, and I'm going to choose request a new laptop. When you're within Jira Service Management, there are a lot of, in the portal here, there's a lot of quick links to go back if you've perhaps clicked the wrong thing. So I could click this to go all the way back to the Help Center or to the IT Service Desk portal group. Portal. I can select the portal group here with this drop down. So maybe I selected the wrong request type. I actually need to be in applications. I could quickly select that here. And then also maybe I chose the right portal group, but I didn't choose the right request type. I can choose this drop down and choose one of these different request types. So maybe I chose this one and I realized, oh, that's not the right thing I need to fill out. I need to fill out something else. I'll just click in here and choose that. And this is an example of a request type in Jira Service Management. So we've got all these different fields that we need our customer to fill out. And so we've got a couple different fields here. Raise this request on behalf of. We can see that I've been added here as the default user. So I'm going to just leave this as is and raise this request on behalf of myself. Reason for requesting new laptop. Again, remember the request type is request a new laptop. So we want to provide our agents with a reason that we're requesting this. I'm going to say my current equipment is damaged. We've got any additional details. This is a rich text field or a paragraph style field. So I can have a lot of different formatting options I can do here. I can use, emojis. I can mention maybe an agent. I can add some links, different text formatting, etc. I'll just say I dropped it and it won't turn on now. And you really want to just provide some additional context here for what's going on with your laptop, how did it get damaged, and what is working or not working. Then lastly, which model would you like? This looks like a simple drop-down field at face value. This is actually connected to our assets database. And again, assets is covered in depth in our ITSM webinar, which again, we're holding here next week, 1 p.m. Central, and also covered in that JSM bootcamp. So if you want to know more about the assets database, which is a really, really powerful tool within Jira Service Management, I would suggest joining that webinar next week. But here we can see I can choose one of these 3 models for a new MacBook that I'd like, or excuse me, a new laptop that I'd like, but I am going to choose the MacBook. And we see here required fields are marked with an asterisk. So this field, and this field are all required in order for me to submit this request. I don't have to enter anything in this field because it is not marked as a required field on the request type. So once I've got these filled out, I'll click send. And here's my ticket that I've submitted. We're going to come back to this in just a second. I want to go back to the Help Center really quickly, and I want to show a more in-depth or complicated request type. So there are tons of customizable options with your request types in Jira Service Management. I'm going to select the HR Service Desk and then the Employee Onboarding request type. We can see there's all kinds of different types of fields here. We've got a date field, we've got a drop down, we've got some column formatting with the way our fields are displayed here. We've got these fields with these buttons, we've got checkboxes, and you can also do conditional formatting. So let's say I'm filling out this employee onboarding form and I want my new hire to have some business cards. I'll select yes. Now I'm presented with a whole new section to fill out the information that needs to be included on those business cards. And if I don't need that, it goes away and I don't need to fill that out. This is an example of what we sometimes refer to within the organization as dynamic forms. They are just called forms in Jira Service Management. You can add those to your request types and do all of this cool stuff, the conditional formatting, the different field types, etc. That is covered in depth in that Jira Service Management bootcamp that we talked about. So let's go back to the request that I submitted. If I click on my avatar up here in the top right corner, I can go to this request section. And here is a handy view on how to view all of the tickets that I've submitted. So we've got some filtering options here. We can filter by status, so all open requests, all closed requests, maybe some specific statuses in specific projects. We can filter by request type here. We can search. Maybe if you've got a lot of tickets you've submitted and need to find one really quickly, you can use this search bar. And then we've got some different columns to view information about this ticket. So we can see the reference number here. This is the issue key from the back end. We'll look at that here in just a second. We can see the summary is just new laptop request. The status is waiting for approval. It's in this service project, IT Service Desk. I'm the person who requested it, and I created it today. If I click on the summary, I can view some more information on this ticket. So here's the reason for requesting my new laptop. It's damaged. This is that additional context I added, and then the model that I selected that I would like. Again, we see the status over here. I can turn on or off notifications for this. I can also cancel my request. So maybe it turns out my laptop isn't broken. I could just cancel this and let the service team know that I don't need a new device. Everything's fine. We see the request type here. The shared with section, you can actually share this request with other people. So I could type in one of my colleagues, for instance, and add her on this request and just simply click add. And then now this has been shared with her. Maybe this is my manager or somebody else in my department who needs to know that, hey, my laptop's broken and that's a problem for me and it's a blocker for me doing my work. I can loop some other people into the conversation here. And then we can see also here that we are waiting for approval on this ticket. So once this is approved, I would see a different status here. I'll get a notification that my request was approved and it's moving along in the process. In our activity section, we can see that this request requires approval. One approval needed. That was timestamped from when I submitted this. I'm also able to add a comment here to the agents on the back end. I can say, just checking, if I can spell this right, checking in on my request. And we've got all those same text formatting options and other things available here. This is exactly like that other field we saw earlier. I'll click Save. And then now I can see my comment here. And when an agent comments back to me, I will see that comment here in the activities section as well. So a lot of really helpful information on your ticket and some interactivity here. Again, you can just cancel your request if you don't need it anymore. You can share it with other people in the organization, turn your notifications on and off, etc., and interact with agents directly from the ticket. So that's going to do it for our customer focused portion of this webinar. Let's look at this ticket from an agent's point of view on the back end. And because I have access to do this, I can simply just click this issue key up here in the breadcrumb trail, and it will take me directly to the ticket in Jira Service Management. So if you're familiar with Jira, again, this is going to look very similar to Jira software in a number of ways, with a lot of different fields and some different information on here, but you will notice a lot of similarities in the UI. We can see the summary field up here at the top, new laptop request, that is directly under the issue key here, which was generated when I submitted the request. We can see that this is a service request with approvals issue type, and we've got all of these familiar buttons here. Some of these are from third-party apps that we have installed in this system. We can create a subtask directly from this. We can link issues, web pages, etc. We talked about forms a little bit. We can add a form directly to this. If, as the agent, maybe we need more information from this customer, we could add a form, make it customer-facing, and add a comment to them. Hey, could you please fill out this information for some more details to work your requests. The fields that I filled out on the ticket are here in this details section. We can see that I raised this request via the portal, and if for some reason we need to view it in the portal, we've got a handy link right here. Some of these are labeled a little bit differently than they were labeled on the request type, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but your fields can the names of the fields can display differently for your customers than they do on the back end. So we can see reason instead of what it said on the portal, description, and then laptop models. So the information that I filled out is still available here. Current equipment is damaged. I dropped it and it won't turn on now. And we can see that I selected this MacBook Pro right here. And if I need to collapse this, I can just click Hide Details. So much like Jira, we've got our status drop down here. As an agent, I can click in here, and I've got a couple options for transitioning this issue to a different status. I can also view the workflow for this particular issue type, and we can see all the different transitions here as well. I'll go ahead and close that. And of course, the status category colors are exactly the same as in Jira software. So our to-do category displays in gray, in progress in blue, and done in green. In our actions dropdown, we've got some manually triggered automations that live in here. I could also create an automation from here or link myself to the Manage Automations section. And I can also view the automation audit log from here. We've got some other familiar icons up here. We can give feedback to Atlassian. We can start watching this issue or not watching this issue if we want to. And we can also share this issue from up here in the top right corner. So some things that are unique to Jira Service Management, one of them is approvals. So we can add approvals steps to our workflows, to the specific statuses in our workflows. Those can be applied to specific issue types. And in this case, for this new laptop request, this does require an approval. So we can see it's waiting for one approval. There's an alert, nobody has been added. For the sake of the demo, I'm going to add myself as the approver. You can actually restrict this though in your system if you don't want people to be able to be added to the approval field if they are the person who submitted the request, so they can't approve their own tickets. And in the real world, you would probably have their manager or somebody from the IT service desk, etc., approving the request. So once an approver has been added, I'm the approver. So I see this new section, this request requires your approval. I can approve or decline this. In this case, I'm going to approve this. And we can see now it's automatically transitioned to waiting for support. That's powered by automation, and it was triggered by me submitting the approval. And now that it's been approved, it's waiting for support, and our agents know that, okay, this request is approved, we can start working on this. Directly under that, we see SLAs. SLAs stand for service level agreements. And the way I like to define this is SLAs are saying how quickly we're agreeing to do something related to the ticket. And we see a couple of SLAs here. We see time to first response, and then we see time to resolution. So these SLAs have been configured to say our service team is agreeing to provide a first response or a response to the person who submitted the ticket within 4 hours of it being submitted. So I submitted this at 11:21. So it's saying today at 3:21 p.m. is when that first response is due, or that's what we've agreed upon to do. Time to resolution within 8 hours. You might be saying, well, 11:21 a.m. tomorrow is 24 hours from now. You can configure your SLAs to only run during working hours. And so that's why this is 11:21 a.m. tomorrow. Our working hours are configured to be 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and our SLAs aren't counting against us outside of that window. So we are committing to resolving this type of request within 8 hours, 8 working hours, which again would be tomorrow at 11:21 a.m. And we'll look a little bit at how these are configured a little bit later in this webinar. In our details section, we've got some other interesting fields here. We've got knowledge base, so we can see 2 related articles. The system served these up when I submitted this request. We can create an article directly from here. We can search for other articles and attach them to this ticket, helping our agents maybe resolve this a little bit quicker. And again, that's powered behind the scenes by Confluence. If you're familiar with that tool, you no doubt will notice some similarities between pages in Confluence and articles in your knowledge base. The request type can actually be changed by agents. If, let's say, a customer submitted the wrong request type, maybe I'm having a problem with a monitor, but I accidentally submitted the laptop request, I could go in here and find the appropriate request type and change it to that. It does need to be a request type that's associated with the same issue type, and we'll talk about that here in just a second as well. Organizations is a way to organize your customers. So we see this a lot with organizations that are utilizing a lot of external customers. You can group them into organizations and then add that information here. Our priority field definitely plays a big part in Jira Service Management. We want to draw attention to critical issues or tickets. This field is configured globally by your Jira administrator, and we can set up a variety of different priority levels here, and we can set those automatically via automation. We can set up our queues to look at specific priorities. So maybe we want a queue that looks at all of our high priority tickets in one centralized location. We can configure that in Jira Service Management. And then we can see request participants. When I shared that with Vicky out on the portal, she is now added as a request participant, and she will get some notifications and other things related to this ticket. We've also got our more fields section. These are configured by your project admin. They don't need to appear on the ticket if you don't want to. They can be moved to the details section. They can be moved to this central location on the ticket if they are important fields. and they are appearing in this More Fields section currently because they are all empty. In the automation section, you'll see anything that's happened related to any automation rules that have been triggered by this ticket. We're not going to go into automation configuration in this webinar, but we do cover that in our Jira bootcamp. That's a big part of that bootcamp. And again, you can get all that information on valiantys.com/training. Back in the middle, we have this similar request section, and we see results with a similar summary. So all of these issues are tickets that are similar in some way based on the summary, or I believe the description field. We can choose to view these, all the similar requests that are open or resolved. We can link these to this issue if we would like to. And the idea is this is a useful tool for agents to either review past tickets related to a similar topic or issue, or current tickets that are open and might indicate a large-scale problem with something. They highlight the frequency in which requests are being submitted in order to create that greater sense of urgency. And like I said, they can be linked to this issue by simply just clicking linked issue, and then we can choose our different link type and actually link that to this issue to kind of establish that connection. At the bottom in our activities section, this is similar to what we saw in the customer view, but we can see a lot more information here. If I click on all, this is a comprehensive look at everything that's happened since this ticket was created. We can see when I created it, the information on the approvers, I added a request participant, I changed the status, or excuse me, I approved the ticket, and then changed the status, etc. Our comments section, as an agent, we have some comment options. We can add an internal note, which will only be available to agents. So I can say internal note and click save. And our internal note is highlighted in yellow here and says internal note. So we know this is only for our service desk team's eyes only, and the customer cannot see this comment. Be sure to choose reply to customer when you want to comment to your customer. So I can say this. We also have canned responses here, and this is a feature that you can utilize for responses that are either high frequency or maybe they need to include specific language. So if I click canned responses, we'll see there is one configured here. When you do create new canned responses, they can be personal, so agent specific, so only I can use this canned response, or they can be shared with all the agents in your project. So you would give it a name, type out the response, and then you can insert that into the ticket. So we can see I just inserted this canned response can be used by anyone, and then I can send this out. And again, the idea is save yourself some time for comments that are made on a rapid or frequent basis, or something that might need specific language, maybe a link to something, maybe some other information that you want quick access to. Then a couple other pieces we'll talk about here. Work logs. If we are tracking time on our tickets, we would see work log information here. And then lastly, the approvals section displays information directly related to approvals. So we can see all that here. And really the idea here is that the all section is that comprehensive look at everything on your ticket that's happened. And then down the line, you get more specific in that information. All right. So that's going to cover our agent view or our agent section in this webinar, and we are going to move on to some administrative work and configurations as a project administrator. And we're going to start by talking about queues. I'm just going to start here on sort of the main menu of this project. Queues are how tickets are sorted and displayed for agents in a service project. And it's a great way for agents to quickly see a list of all open requests that meet a specific criteria. Talking about sorting, displaying, organizing, in the past, Jira Service Management did not have boards like Jira software and utilize queues. Boards have been rolled into JSM now. You can turn those on as a project admin in the features section of your project settings. We don't have those enabled in this project, but just something to call out there as they sort of roll Jira software features into Jira Service Management. You can utilize a Kanban board now. And you do have to be a project manager to turn those on, or excuse me, project administrator to turn those on. And you do need a project admin to create and manage your queues. So I'm going to click on the queues section, and we can see we've got this priority group here of some queues, and then we can see all of the queues in this project right here. So you can get really specific with the criteria for each of your queues. All my tickets is specific to each agent. It's actually looking at the current user who's logged in. I don't have any assigned tickets, so this is showing as 0. If we click into all open tickets, we'll see this list of all open tickets in this project. So everything that's not in a done status category status here. We see a lot of different columns here. So we've got a request type column, the issue key, the summary, the reporter or who created the ticket, who's assigned, the status created, etc. These can be customized in your queue. You can actually update certain fields directly from this queue. So I could click on the assignee field, for instance. I could assign to me, I could assign to Brian, for instance, or any of these other agents within this project directly from the ticket. So that can be really helpful, not having to click into the ticket, but actually make some updates directly from your queue. If I click in this box, I can select all the tickets in here, or I could just select a specific number of them. And then I have some bulk actions that I can execute. So I could link all these together. I could add a comment to all of these issues. I could update the assignee on all of these issues, transition them, bulk approve them, or bulk delete them. And we can, as a project admin, we can actually customize this queue, like I mentioned. So if we click the 3 dots, click Edit Queue, this is where we could change the name of the queue if we want to. We can assign this to different priority groups. So we have our team priority group here. We could add this to a different priority group if we want to. The filter by section. So the filter here is based on JQL, much like filters or maybe dashboards, automation, etc. in Jira. JQL also exists in Jira Service Management. If you don't know JQL or don't want to write JQL, you can use this basic selection here to create the filter for your queue. And you've got a bunch of different customizable options here as well. At the bottom, this is the columns section where I can choose which columns I'm going to display in my queue. And each column is related to a field on your Jira Service Management issue. So a lot of good customizable options for your queue. Let's look at the overall queue settings. Again, like I mentioned, we can move our queues to different priority groups here by adding those in the priority groups column for each of these different queues. Note that those changes will be global for everybody within the project. So if I move it to a different priority group or add it to an additional priority group, that will display for everybody within the project. There is a way to star queues. So maybe I want created in the last day to display prominently for me. I have my own starred section up here, and that's where my starred queues will display. So that's unique to each user, but the priority groups are not. They are global for everybody in the project. And we looked a little bit about how to create a new queue, but let's go ahead and just create one really quickly. We will click Create Queue. We'll give it a name like Brad's Queue. We could select a priority group if we want, and then you can write your JQL here. So I could say request type equals, and then we'll say request a new laptop, and we'll run that search. And now we have created a queue in which all of the request a new laptop issues are displayed. And so we can see there's a handful of those in here currently, and those would be displayed in this queue. I would simply click create to create that queue. So one thing to note on that too is your queues can sometimes be affected by changes in your project. So for some reason that request type got changed and the name got changed, then I would need to change it in my queue configuration in the JQL in order to display correctly. So just something to keep in mind in there as you're making changes in your Jira Service Management project. So that's it for queues. Let's talk about SLAs a little bit. We talked about these briefly in our agent section. And again, SLA is our service level agreement, which is the level of service that the team has committed to providing to customers, either internal or external. And I like to think of these as like goals that have a specific time frame in which they should be achieved. And you do need to be a project administrator to create and manage SLAs. So let's scroll down to our SLAs section. And this is the section of the project settings in which our project admins can configure and manage our SLAs. We see we've got a few different ones configured here: time to resolution, time to first response, time to close after resolution, and time to review a normal change. You have an overall limit of 90 goals in your project, and each SLA can have multiple goals. So for example, time to resolution has 2 goals within it. The goals can have different time targets, and they can have different time targets for specific sort of scenarios or issue types, etc. So we can see for time to resolution, for all of our incidents, we're saying our time target is to resolve those within 4 hours. For service requests, we're saying 8 hours, and we saw that SLA on the ticket that I submitted at the start of this webinar. If it's not an incident or a service request, we don't have a time to resolution associated with it. We've got no target here. Within our SLA, we've got our goals that we just talked about. We've got conditions. So time will be measured between the start and stop conditions below. So we'll say start counting time when the issue is created or the resolution is cleared. We're going to pause counting time when it's in one of these 2 statuses. So if we're waiting for the customer to provide us information for some reason, we can't work on the issue anymore, we're not going to count against our SLA during that time. And we can finish counting time when the resolution is set. The last thing we have here is the SLA display format, and you can choose between these different display formats for your due date on your tickets. We talked a little bit earlier about the calendar and how that time to resolution SLA wasn't counting against itself outside of working hours. And that's because we have associated this goal within our SLA with this 9 to 5 calendar. So if we go up here to the top and we select calendar, we've got one calendar configured in this project, but you can add as many as you like via the add calendar section. If I expand this, we can see what this calendar is actually saying. So any SLA goal that is associated with this sample 9 to 5 calendar will only count against the SLA Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And it's using this time zone as well. So you can also create calendars that use different time frames. So maybe you have a service desk team that works shifts, and maybe some of them work outside of regular business hours. You can create SLAs to reflect that. You can reflect a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week calendar if you'd like to. Your custom calendars can also be created and include non-working days like holidays. So if I come down here, I can actually import holiday dates to pause my SLAs, or I can exclude them so that the system still counts against our SLAs during holidays. So you've got a lot of flexibility with your SLAs, and again, you do need to be a project administrator to configure those. We've got about 10 minutes left in our webinar, so I'm going to move on to request types. Remember that our customer portal is composed of request types, and request types create specific issues in our JSM project. So in this request type section within request management, we see all these different categories for our request types. We'll just select service requests. And here are all of our service request types in this project. So we can see the request type and description here. Each request type is associated with a specific issue type in Jira Service Management. So we can see each of these is only associated with one issue type, but an issue type can be associated with more than one request type. So our service request is applying to several request types, but the inverse of that is not true. This helps create efficiencies on the back end. If you have several request types that need to use the same configurations like workflows, screens, field configurations, etc. So something to keep in mind there. We can see the workflow that each of these is associated to, the portal group that it's associated to. This is a relatively new feature where you can actually restrict request types to specific groups or users, project roles, etc. So that section is available here, and we can change the work category here if we'd like to. We can change the workflow. We can edit the portal group here, etc. So let's look at a request form. I will look at request a new laptop, which is the one we submitted to start everything today. We've got a couple different tabs here. We've got the request form tab. We can change the title of it here. We can change the request type description. And this is where you're going to choose the fields that you want to include on the request type for your customer. So I could grab like the approvers field, for example, and drag it over here. And now once I save this, that would be available to the customer to fill out. So maybe we want them to provide their manager's name there for some reason to approve their request. They can do that right here. You can use either Jira system fields or custom fields within here. We talked about making fields required. If I expand this one, for instance, there's just this checkbox here to select this, and now it is going to be required. We also have display name here. So we talked about how the names of the fields can be different out in the portal for our customers. We just type that into the display name field here. Which model would you like? And that's what's displayed to the customer when they're filling out this request type. And so on the back end, it's actually laptop models is the name of the field, but our display name is different. So we can also add help text to our fields. So in the display description here, I could say, please select your manager, and help provide some guidance to what we're asking for in this field. We can set a preset value in our fields as well. So maybe in the laptop models, we want it to have a preset value, or one of these other fields. We can do that if we would like to. We can configure the issue view directly from here as well. So if we select issue view, I'll just discard my changes. We can move fields around. And we talked about this a little bit when we were looking at the ticket as an agent. We've got our description fields, which is that middle section. We've got our context fields. We've got hide when empty fields. So we can move all this stuff around and choose where we would like these to display in our issue view. And then we've got a section workflow statuses. So much like our fields on our request forms, we can change the status name to show the customer. This could be useful if you have several in progress status category steps in your workflow, but maybe the customer only needs to know that their request is in progress, not necessarily all the detailed status names that the agents are using. We can configure those right here. And then again, we've got our restrictions section here. This is, again, relatively new functionality, but you can restrict who's able to submit a request for specific request types. And if they don't have access to it, they simply won't see it in the portal. We've got just a couple of minutes left. Let's jump into forms very quickly. We looked at that HR employee onboarding form. And if I search for that in here, it should come up. But it's not, so we'll just choose a different form. We'll choose like Brian's test form, for example. So you have a lot of different customizable options in your forms. You give it a title. You can add just some text information here. There are different tables you can add. You can change the layout of your form. You can add an info panel, maybe a divider. There's some other elements you can add in here, like the status custom label that we see here. When we click on our form fields, we have a variety of field options we can choose from. So if I choose this dropdown, we've got short text, long text, paragraph, those radio buttons that we saw earlier, checkboxes, drop downs, you name it, it's here, attachment fields, etc. We can give that field a display name. You can actually link your form fields directly to Jira fields if you'd like to do that, and you can make your form fields required from here. So you've got a ton of flexibility with your forms in terms of the layout, the information that you're trying to capture from your customers, etc. And definitely something you want to utilize in Jira Service Management. We are running out of time, so that's going to be about it for forms. But again, that is covered in depth in our Jira Service Management Bootcamp, and all of those details can be found at Atlassian.com/events. I see one quick question in the Q&A about ticket routing. Yes, you can route to specific teams. I think Alexis has provided a great answer here, but it does depend on how your service desk team works their tickets. You might want it to go directly to a specific queue for specific assignees or people within a team. You might want it to go to a generic queue, and the team that's going to work the ticket will drag it and make some kind of change to the ticket to populate it in their queue. The possibilities are really endless there, and you can use a Jira field or a custom field to populate your queue as well. So maybe a specific value, or maybe your queue is based on the request type, and that team knows, hey, any ticket that comes in for request type A, B, or C is going to go to our queue, and we're responsible for working those tickets. So really great question. Yeah, there's a ton of flexibility there with how you configure your queues. All right.
We did have a question that Ben brought up, which I believe that we're running out of time, but he noticed the Tempo integration. Is there any quick summary you can give to him about that integration?
Absolutely. So Tempo is a third-party app developer for Jira, Jira Service Management, etc. Their sort of flagship product is known as Tempo Timesheets, and it's really the gold standard for time tracking within the Atlassian ecosystem. And so that's why you were seeing that on those issues. We have that implemented in our instance. We use their products internally. We're very strong advocates for their products, including timesheets, planner, structure. They really have a wide variety of products that they offer. Again, timesheets being that really sets the standard for time tracking within Jira. and you can track time against your issues. You can report on those, export them for your finance team, etc. And it's a really great product. Definitely recommend checking that out in the Atlassian marketplace. Again, it's called Tempo Timesheets. All right. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. We are getting close to the top of the hour. Again, just another reminder, we've got another webinar here next week, January 16th, 1 p.m. for the ITSM features in Jira Service Management. Really hope you can join us for that as well. We'll talk about incident management, change management, assets, problem management, post-incident reviews, all kinds of stuff in the ITSM world, and we will cover that next week. So really glad everybody could join today. I believe our contact info is in the chat for both myself and Alexis, email and LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions regarding Jira Service Management or anything else Atlassian related. We are here to help and happy to answer any questions. And don't forget to check us out on YouTube too. This webinar will be posted there along with all of our previous webinars on a variety of topics. We've got some great sort of deep dives on specific Atlassian related topics as well. On our YouTube page, we've got a JSM updates playlist there as well. So you'll see some cool content related to updates to Jira Service Management there as well. Hope you enjoyed this course. I hope you learned something new about Jira Service Management and how it could be a useful tool for your team or organization. And again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to either one of us, and we will be happy to help. And thanks for being here, and have a great day.